Hi, Gene here with today's thought. Yesterday, the debt ceiling compromise, the deal worked out between Joe Biden and Kevin McCarthy, passed out of committee yesterday. It goes to the House today. They're probably debating it right now as I'm recording this the day before you're seeing it. And the House is supposed to vote on it today. I assume it's going to pass because McCarthy would not have brought the deal to a vote if it were not going to, if he thought it would not pass. That's number one. Number two, there's a rule, if you didn't know about it, there's a rule that the Republicans have, which is whenever they're in charge, whenever they control the House, that any bill brought to the floor must have support from a majority of the majority, meaning that most Republicans must support it before it can be brought to the floor. You can't have a situation where fewer than half of the Republicans vote for it and it passes because it gets enough Democratic votes, a lot of Democratic votes to pass it. So it's a bill. It would be a bill brought to the floor by a Republican Speaker of the House, but passed mostly by Democrats. So they have a rule against that, and it would probably trigger an automatic vacating of the chair. You have to remember that McCarthy, to get elected Speaker in the first place, they went through 15 rounds, and finally he had to agree that any single member could file a motion to vacate the chair, which means they would vote on whether to vacate the chair, whether to remove him from the speakership, and then they would have to elect a new speaker. So to me, that actually doing that would be insane. If it took 15 rounds to get McCarthy, I don't know who they would get. If he's not the speaker, then who would they elect? So to me, it makes no sense, but it looks like we're not going to go there. It looks like it's going to pass. The last time I checked, either 34 or 38 Republicans were solidly against it, announced they would not vote for it. So that leaves more than enough Republicans if they get help from the Democrats. But the Democrats, if Joe Biden can't get his own party to support a compromise that he negotiated, then I don't know what it says about the president. We already know he's a weak president, but he would be even weaker. He would be a lame duck in his first term, which is something I'd never heard of. But anyways, because the expectations of a second term, I guess, would be minimal, let's say, almost zero. But what I want to talk about today is if I were a congressman, I suspect I would be one of the Republicans voting against it. But my big complaint is a big error, a blunder that Kevin McCarthy made in the beginning, and that was his asking or his outreach to the president to negotiate. He should never have talked about negotiating. He should have followed regular order. What is regular order, for those of you who don't know? And you all should know. They used to teach civics in school when I was a student, these many years ago, the way the government works. But all spending bills, tax bills, etc., they have to originate in the House. So the House passes a bill, sends it to the Senate. Then the Senate has the options of passing the Republican bill, the House's bill, or amending the House's bill, or passing their own bill. And that's what McCarthy should have done, just follow regular order. Because add in also one other factor, the Democrats, including the president, were taunting the Republicans for weeks or even months, saying, "Where's your bill? Why don't you pass a bill? The Republicans are in disarray, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada." And lo and behold, the Republicans passed a bill. So now the next step, they sent it to the Senate, and Chuck Schumer, the majority leader of the Senate, said, okay, well, the bill is dead on arrival. Okay, so fine. This would be the time for McCarthy to turn the tables and say, okay, we passed our bill. You taunted us. You said we couldn't pass a bill. We passed it. Now, where is your bill? Because what happens, so as I said, either they would just pass the House bill as it is, change the House bill, or amend the House bill, or pass their own bill. And in that case, in either of the cases, if they don't just pass the bill the way it comes to the Senate, then there would be a conference committee, representatives. There would be a committee with representatives from the House and the Senate, and they would negotiate their differences and come up with a bill that would then go back to the House and then back to the Senate to be enacted and then sent or passed and then sent to the president to hopefully sign. So that's what it should. Whenever some liberal journalists would say, "Well, are you going to let the country default?" Which is false. That's another story. I don't want to make this too long. There's no chance that the government would default. We'll put it this way: the interest payments per month this month would be $70 billion, and $500 billion are coming in this month. So there's no way they would default. So it was just a canard, just to scare people. But and provide a talking point for liberal journalists, but the point, and maybe moderate Republicans. But the point is that whenever challenged in that way, the House should say, "Well, what are you talking about? We raised the debt limit, and we sent the bill to the Senate. Where's the Senate's bill? Talk to them." And if somebody says negotiate, we should negotiate. Okay, well, the Senate can negotiate with the president, and in this case, the president of their own party, and work out a compromise and then pass something. The problem, of course, is that you have enough Republicans in the Senate to filibuster a bill and prevent it from passing. So there's any way you cut it, the Democrats would have to negotiate with Republicans. It would just be Senate Republicans, and that's what they should have done. Or if you're going to negotiate with the president, that would be the time to do it if the House and the Senate cannot agree in a conference committee. But McCarthy should have waited till they got to that point and say, okay, if we have to negotiate with the president, we will, as soon as we've gotten the Senate bill. They pass their bill, and we'll meet in committee, and if we can't agree, then we can go talk to the president, and the president can whip his own party into line, but has to come up with something that Republicans could accept, because we have divided government now. That's the way it is. The president should have realized that. And talking about the debt ceiling specifically, the part that bothers me the most is that they raise the debt limit more than the 1.5 trillion they were talking about, but also they extended it. This is the really part I hate the most. They extended it past the next election. They should have made it 1 year, comes up during the presidential election where there's a lot of pressure, and then when it comes up, say, okay, Mr. President, are you going to drag this out again and end up negotiating anyway, or will we get your Senate in line and let's settle this now? And that's my thought for today. Thanks for stopping by. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. And actually, if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions for something you'd like me to talk about, definitely feel free to let me know. And until I see you next time, bye.